Welcome to Never Sleep Again.
Your source for sci-fi and horror movie reviews.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Veronica.
And today we are going to review the 2022 movie, Barbarian.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy ride.
Yep. Yeah, it was. We're going to get into what we liked, what we didn't like. Mm-hmm. But before then, why don't you go ahead and give us a like, a share, give us a subscribe. Mm-hmm. Also hit the notification bell so that you will be the first one to know when we release another review or other content that we're going to do on this channel.
That's right. And we do have more content coming your way, so keep an eye out for it. We have some fun things planned for the coming months.
We do. Yeah. We really do. So stay tuned. Mm-hmm. And as always, please watch the movie. Don't just watch this. Don't just watch this review. Watch the movie, but if you clicked on this before watching the movie, be aware that there are spoilers, but you might as well just kick it with us because you're here.
Yeah, just hang out with us. Stick around. Enjoy the ride.
Right. So Barbarian follows a woman named Tess, and she had not accidentally because it wasn't her fault, but she and a man named Keith were booked at the same Airbnb by a mix-up that happened. So, and it also follows a man named AJ, and AJ's played by Justin Long. Yes. It's cool to see him in another movie. Was. And so but inside that house, inside that Airbnb, something is lurking there, and it sets off a chain of events. And as Veronica mentioned earlier, it's a wild ride. Yeah. So if you want more on the movie, you can read a synopsis online, or you could just go watch the movie. Right. It's available on...
where do we see it? We saw it on HBO Max.
Yeah. On HBO Max. So it's available on HBO Max. Go watch it over there. And now we're going to just tell you what we liked about this movie, what we did not like about this movie. And Veronica, why don't you go first?
Okay, well... I gotta say, I actually really did enjoy this movie. There were some parts in there, and we'll get into it.
I already know.
Yeah, we'll get into those parts. But for the most part, I actually enjoyed the movie.
So did I. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did? Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't remember much going into it. I know we had seen a trailer a little while before we had actually seen the movie. So I knew it involved an Airbnb, something crazy happens at a house, it's dark outside, something involving the basement, and she discovers a secret passageway down there, but I didn't remember everything that they mentioned in the trailer.
Well, the trailer actually did a really good job of not giving away the entire movie from what I could remember. I remember watching the trailer and wanting to see the movie because of the trailer. Yeah. So it was definitely a great trailer.
It was, yeah. And so I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the movie. I liked that the movie, the plot was not something that I had seen anytime, recent or even in past memory of mine. I can't recall a situation where it's there's a booking mix-up and these two now have to figure out, who's going to stay there and something happens. There's somebody creepy lurking. They've got to work together. It's, I liked the plot.
Right.
There was something interesting, though, about the movie, which I'll probably discuss a little bit later. I actually just thought of it. That threw me off a little bit. But overall, I enjoyed the story itself. I thought it was pretty creative.
I just have to say, when you talked about the plot, how the plot was something that we kind of haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Only it does slightly remind me of another movie.
Oh, really? What?
Slightly. I think I remember the name of the movie is called The Collector, where a man goes to rob a house and finds out that there's somebody already in the house, and he kind of tries to help the family or something like that. But it's still I'm in no way I'm no way trying to say it's the same thing. No. It did remind me a little bit about that, but it's definitely a fresh plot.
Right, yeah. So, kudos to them for that. I mean, I'm okay for the, if there's a remake and it's done well and it's been like a considerable amount of time since the original, then I'm like, okay, yeah, go for it. But in a world where you just get remake after remake after remake, unnecessarily, I get tired of that. And so it's refreshing to see something
this
that's
delivers
a little
on
more creative.
on the originality.
Yeah. Exactly. So points for that to them. I liked how the movie subverted expectations. They did it a couple of times during the movie. So you're kind of seeing the world through Chess's eyes. She's like our main character for the most part. And we see her first. She's the first character we're introduced to. We see everything from her perspective when she's on screen. And so we're just meeting the other Airbnb occupant when she does. We don't know anything about him, although he's played by the wonderful and amazing Bill Skarsgard.
Of course.
Right? But
the one and only.
Exactly. But we don't know anything about him. We don't know, if he's good or if he's bad. So I like that they didn't go the route that so many other movies would have taken and just made him out to be a creep or someone who you can't really trust. He was actually turned out to be a very decent guy,
right?
Like a good guy, and
real and a nice guy. And like you said, we're being shown him through Tessa's point of view,
right?
And she's so suspicious of him,
yeah.
And so in turn, we are suspicious of him too.
Yeah, so I liked that aspect of it. Later on, we meet another character from the neighborhood. I gotta say, this is actually a point of its own, but I'm just gonna wrap it into this point. That was like my favorite scene ever. They show her arrive back to the Airbnb after she just had an interview, because that's why she's there in town. She's there for an interview for a new position. And she gets back to the Airbnb. She gets out of the car, and there's a man just running at her. It's like this older man, and he's got, kind of like tattered and worn, dirty clothes, and he's just running at her full speed. And of course, she's freaking out. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know who he is. And he's like yelling things at her, and he's like telling her not to go in that house, like not to go in that house, come out of that house. She gets in the house and she like closes the door. First, she's struggling to get in there because it's an Airbnb, right? So there's like a lock box. She has to get the key out of the box, and then she's got to unlock the door. And it's
it's a really funny scene. It's funny. It's funny.
It's like tense too, because you don't know what's about to happen. And so she gets inside, and he's like, "Little girl, come out of that house. Come out of that house, little girl.
Come out of that house, little girl."
Yes, I was cracking up because I'm like, "What? Oh no!" And then I was like, "Wait a minute. Are they gonna do this? What if he's actually like warning her about something?" And turns out that's what it was.
And I immediately knew once they did that. It's always in these movies. It's always the guy who looks crazy, and you just think, "Oh, he's a crazy guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying nonsense." But what have we learned from Stephen King? That the crazy guy yelling is usually telling the truth.
That's right.
And that you probably should leave that house alone. Mm-hmm. You probably shouldn't touch the talisman.
Yes.
Right. whatever horror trope it is.
Heed his advice. Listen to him. He knows something you don't know. So, unfortunately, she did not follow his advice.
She ran right in that house. She locked the door behind her.
Yeah, and then she called the police. So that was the end of that. For that scene. But I like that they ended up subverting our expectations, because later on we meet that character again, and that's when we find out that he was only ever trying to warn her and trying to get her away from the impending danger. Yeah,
that house.
That house.
That house is the way he said it. That house.
Yep. No, he knew that there was something in there, and he's seen it, and he knows that people die when they go in that house. So, we meet him later. He's a nice guy. He actually helps them. He tells them where to go. Come to where he's staying, because that person that lives in the basement doesn't come over there.
Well,
but unfortunately, they did this time, and Oh man, I'm sorry. What she did. So, if you've seen the movie, then you already know what the creature. It's a woman who's lived under the basement for her entire life, and unfortunately, she has been subject to inbreeding. So,
right, as in she is a product of inbreeding over and over again. We're going to spare the details of exactly what we mean. Just go and watch the movie.
Yeah.
But basically, after the process of that happened, you get this woman who's really like this hulking, literally hulking creature. She looked to be about like 7 feet.
Oh, she was tall and strong and
very
fast.
strong and fast.
Yeah. Yep. So, man. When she would just call her, I don't even know what they call her in the movie. They don't even refer to her.
I've just been referring to her as I feel bad because this is a woman, but for all intents and purposes, this is the monster of the movie. Okay, it's whatever. They set everything up to be like a monster movie. They give you a creepy house like a monster movie. They give you a creepy, dark, secret compartment basement like a monster movie. Everything they did was to put you in the mind of a monster movie. So I called her the monster.
Okay, we'll call her the monster.
You made very good points. Respectfully. Respectfully.
So later on in the movie, they end up going over to his house. His name was Andre, right?
Andre, the homeless man?
Yeah.
The homeless man's name is
Andre. They go
Andre.
to his dwelling place because he is homeless. So it's over by the river, I think he said, or the water tower. Anyway, he dies in a very horrific way.
Yeah.
He, gets his arms ripped off.
Yeah, it turned into Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Yeah. It really did.
It was like a Mortal Kombat fatality. She ripped his arm off and then beat him with his own arm.
Beat him with it. But, rest in peace. Andre and Keith, they were good guys. They subverted our expectations. I liked that. Okay. And I also thought that it was pretty hilarious when she saw the neighborhood for the first time.
Yeah.
Because listen, she pulled up to the Airbnb. It was dark. It was late. And you couldn't really see much of the neighborhood. You're just assuming, okay, there are houses around. It's dark, but it's late. People are probably in bed. When she came out of that house for her interview and looked around
in the morning,
it was like, all the houses were run down. They were defaced. Property was not kept up. It was awful.
Holes. Broken windows.
Like nobody was living anywhere near there. Yeah. So it was really creepy. There's just this one house that's been kept up amidst all these rundown homes.
It was so cartoony. Yeah. It was like something you would see on a cartoon. Every wrong side of town in a cartoon is what this looked like.
Yes. And then, I'm going to switch over to you, but one more thing I really, really liked was how they, I don't know if they built the set. They probably didn't build the set for the basement. I don't know how they did it, but it looked like something out of your worst nightmare. Going down those steps into
they did a great job.
The tunnels down below.
They did a great job.
Yeah,
with that.
They did. The set was really cool. I thought they did a great job.
However they did that was great. It's something that if you were to walk into that in real life, nobody in their right mind would feel comfortable down there. You would just want to get out of there.
Not at all. Except for AJ, who takes the opportunity to, this is his house. He owns his house. And he's just like, what? He sees there's a whole other level, and it goes on. And he just gets his measuring tape. Yeah. And he's like, hey, can I add this? Can I include this in the listing for square footage? So I thought that was pretty funny. But I'm going to stop there so we can move on. What worked for you with this movie?
The tone of the movie, right out of the gate, the tone of the movie, I love it. It's literally a dark and stormy night.
Yeah.
and the main character is going, she's going into the Airbnb, and you already think that something creepy is going on. You don't know when. It plays out kind of like a Jack in the Box. Probably some of you are probably too young to remember a toy like that. You're winding the toy, and then you don't know when the Jack in the Box is gonna jump out.
Horrible concept for a toy.
Yeah, I know. Right? All of them look creepy.
Yeah.
Too. Like, Anyway,
so perfect example with this,
right?
Yeah.
And so you don't know where the movie's going, and I enjoyed that part. That being said, you also care about the characters, Tess, Keith, even AJ. You're at least interested in you're invested in trying to learn what AJ's whole case is.
Yeah.
Just, there's a whole, AJ has kind of a different story arc.
Right.
That kind of has nothing to do with Tess. Tess is going, basically AJ owns the house that's on the Airbnb app, and that's his part in the story. He's also a famous actor, and he's involved in some type of allegation that just recently got him fired from his job. And like that's his, and so you spend some part of the movie wondering, oh, did he do what they said he did? And you're wondering, you're invested. That's probably due to in part by the fact that Justin Long is playing the character of AJ, and this movie subverts your expectations a lot. You see Bill Skarsgard, who recently played Pennywise, and you think, oh, he might be the bad guy, he might be the killer in this movie, but he's a nice guy. And you see AJ, who's played by Justin Long, who has a history of he's played a good amount of good guys, and you don't know, you're thinking, oh, he might be a good guy, but he turns out he's not a good guy.
The whole movie, you're like hoping the allegations are not true,
right? And you find out that they're probably true.
They're probably true.
The movie all but spells it out for you by the end, which I appreciated that. The movie has good setup and payoff. Yeah. They don't just wave an idea in your face and then it goes nowhere. They don't make you think that there's something creepy in the basement and it's really nothing. Right. Or they don't do something like, oh, people are the real monsters. No, they don't do they don't do anything like that. It's all the threats are real in the movie. As we mentioned, that the woman, she can hurt you. Yeah. That being said, the basement, you kind of already mentioned this, so I didn't know you were gonna talk about it too. But the basement,
I touched on your point. Okay.
The basement is really creepy. I love how it looks. It looks, not only is it creepy, but it looks lived in. You believe that something or someone was living underneath there for years. And I gotta point out again, I love that the threats in this movie were real. They establish very quickly that this woman, the monster, she's fast, she's strong, she's very agile, and she can kill very quickly.
She grabbed Keith and just smashed his head over and over against the wall. That was it. He was out cold. He was already out cold, and that was it. Yeah. She viewed him as a threat. She immediately killed him. Yeah. And so that's what I really liked about this movie. That's what I really liked. Those facts is you're not going to be disappointed if you're looking for something creepy to watch. Yeah. It has all the creepy factor. Threats are real.
You know, would she still be a threat with a gun if you had a gun?
Oh, well, somebody had a gun,
Somebody
remember?
had a gun.
And she wouldn't. She wouldn't,
yeah.
because we do see at the end that she can be stopped by bullets. Remember, just one bullet to the head.
Well, I was thinking more of like real life, like
trying to hit,
because
you're not gonna get a headshot for the most part. You're getting like body shots, and I kind of feel like she would keep going.
That's what I was.
Just like body
that's
shots.
Exactly what I was thinking, because in the movie they did, movie stuff. Mm-hmm. So, now, the part that we don't always like to do for the movie, what didn't you like?
This movie, I did not know this going in. Again, I had kind of limited knowledge. I usually don't care to look much into movies when they first are released, and when or they're first letting us know they're going to be released, because I do like to be surprised, and so I don't want to have certain expectations going into it. For the most part, I like to I'll watch a trailer here and there, I'll watch trailers, but for the most part, I don't want to know everything going into it. I just want to kind of watch it play out. And so I didn't know how rife with like social commentary this movie would be, and I'm not that interested typically in movies that are just very political. There was a lot involving gender dynamics and gender politics and I
thought that you might not like that.
I
know that's not really your thing.
Right. I know that's a part of our world, and it's important, but I felt at times like it was just really in our faces.
Right.
And so I didn't care for that as much. Another thing I didn't care for was, and I started to mention this earlier because it just come to me, I didn't like I understand the reason why they did it, but I didn't quite like how they just kind of switched the narrative from Tess and Keith to AJ, just kind of introducing him out of the blue, like midway through the movie.
Right.
And so you're just like, oh, okay, we're no longer following Tess. Oh, okay, I guess we're gonna come back to her. So who's this? This is AJ. Oh, all right. So we're just kind of like, it's like two separate movies, two separate stories, just kind of, conjoined. And so I was a little taken aback by that, because I didn't foresee that, and I didn't I just wasn't expecting it.
Right.
And
it kind of does just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it comes out of nowhere.
And if I may, to add to what Veronica's saying, it really does disrupt the movie.
Yeah.
Because we're introduced to AJ immediately after the threat of the woman that lives in the basement is established.
Right.
Right after she smashes Keith's head up into the wall. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Where it immediately just goes to Justin Long.
Right.
And him being on the phone with these people who we don't know.
We don't know. He's singing a song.
And he's singing a song in his convertible. And they call him to fire him from the pilot of a show.
Yeah, we've never seen him. So I kind of would have, exactly. So I feel like maybe if they had maybe introduced his character early on, maybe shown that the Airbnb was under his name or something. It didn't have to be a long scene or something, but I just, maybe if they had just set his character up a little earlier on in the movie, real quick, and then we go into the Tess and Keith's, story, and then come back to age. I think I would have felt a little less, taken aback if that happened that way, perhaps. But, it's a small gripe. I did go on to, of course, I understand why they included his story in the arc. We come full circle, and he actually encounters Tess, later on. So, but I just didn't care for the way they did that.
Yeah, it was pretty disruptive. We could see why they did it, but yeah.
Another thing I didn't really care for was I do wish they had made AJ's character a little more nuanced.
100%.
Dude, it was like, okay, every time you thought he was going to do something decent, he just turned around and just did the worst thing ever. Like, I'm so sorry. I just wish it was like, okay, he has a heart, and okay, he did something bad, but he's also capable of doing something good. I kind of wish, but it was just like, no, this is just a bad guy through and through, and that's all you're gonna get. So I didn't care for that. Because people in real life, they are nuanced. People are dynamic, and they can have good attributes and bad attributes. They can be decent, and all sorts of things. I just feel like they really, really did not want you to like AJ, and there's just no getting around it. He was just irredeemable, and that was it.
Yeah, they really did kind of just put it in your face.
He had chances to be a good guy and to do the right thing, but it's like every single time he just did the opposite. So
yeah,
I didn't care for that as much.
Can't disagree with that.
Yeah. And then one last thing, the scene with the police officers, it's like, okay, they laid that on too thick. I think that scene was just there to piss you off, because that's what it did to me. It just made me mad, and I don't like it when movies do things heavy-handed in such a way just to make the audience mad. And I know how. Trust me, I know how they can be. We know from experience how they can be. But I just feel like, even more so, knowing from experience, that I didn't need to see that in this movie. I feel like it was a little bit unrealistic to an extent.
Well, because they didn't take anything she said seriously at all. They were very dismissive of her.
Which, again, I know that's a possibility.
We know that's a possibility, but I don't really feel they would dismiss these types of claims. They would make some note of something.
They didn't ask her name. They didn't get any kind of address from her. Nothing. Right. It was just, she's a junkie. Let's, we got bigger and better things to do.
They act like being a junkie was a disease that they could get from her. They literally ran away from her like she had the plague or something.
Yeah, man. That annoyed me. That just pissed me off. So that scene, I would have been happy if they just left that out entirely. But I'm going to stop there. And, why don't you tell us a little bit about what did not work for you?
So the first thing I have to say about what did not work for me is this one is kind of a conflicting statement, because I liked the flashback.
Okay.
I feel like I really liked it.
Yeah.
And how they show you the neighborhood and how it looked before, and it looks all nice. It's a newer neighborhood. This is in the
80s. Yeah.
Right. This is in the 80s. And the neighborhood looks completely different, and they show you basically how the woman in the basement came to be,
right? Because
of this really evil guy named Frank, and it's a whole backstory, and
he's worse than her.
He's worse than her. Well, we see that she's not really evil.
Yeah, she
doesn't know what she's doing.
She doesn't know what she's doing.
She doesn't, and that's why I very loosely use the word monster, because she doesn't know what she's doing. So the woman in the basement's not really evil. Frank is evil.
Yes.
I would have liked to see a prequel instead of the flashback. 2 movies, so give us this movie with Tess and Keith and AJ, and then give us a prequel with Frank and whatever other people in his in the neighborhood with him. Cool. If they could still do a prequel, but I feel like if they did a prequel now, there's not really a lot of mystery, because we already know what Frank does. We already don't like him.
Right.
What he did is disgusting.
He's not going to, justice is not going to be served during those prequels.
Justice won't be served.
So what's the point? He's just going to get away with everything until he's he's already, I don't know how old he is by the time he does die, but it's like he's lived a long life at that point. Right,
and we see him die in this movie.
Yeah.
So we warn you about spoilers. My next thing is that Tess worries that Keith might be a creep, but then she does creepy things to Keith, coming in his room unannounced, and even he's like, Even he's like, what the F?
Yeah. Oh, he was on the couch.
Yeah, when he was sleeping on the couch.
Like, that's his space for the night.
Yeah, that's his space. Because she heard something creepy. Because, there's something creepy in the house.
Her door was open.
Yeah. And so I just felt it was weird to show, after all the things she basically made Keith do to prove his innocence.
Right, yeah.
To prove his innocence, that she would immediately just start acting creepy. Right. Or maybe that was the whole point. Maybe they wanted to show that.
Probably. Because, if the roles were reversed, yeah, no.
Right. And when we talk like this, that's the only point that we're trying to make when we talk like this, is that, when that things are different or viewed differently when the roles are reversed, then it's wrong. It's wrong. So up until now, we haven't really gotten to the real problems that I have with this movie. Okay, so the real problems for me start with Justin Long's character, AJ. The character is just completely unlikable all the way through. We spend way too much time talking about his personal, or rather learning about his personal problems in the movie. They take up a considerable amount of time in the movie to establish his personal problems with these allegations that were made with him on a set. In the middle of a horror movie, I don't really care about that. It was good enough for... What they did earlier was good enough for me. Was they called him on the phone, the phone call, and it's clearly a conference call, and they're telling him about all these allegations that have been made against him, and a serious allegation that was made against him, so bad that they have to drop him from the pilot of a new show. And that was good enough, because it was a very serious allegation. And I'm thinking, if he did what he did, then they were right to drop him, and he should be tried in court, obviously. But they just keep on with it. We see him calling the girl when he's not calling the woman when he's not supposed to. And we see him talking to his friend in a bar about what happened or what didn't happen. And I wanted to get back to the creepy house with the whatever is in the basement trying to kill people. So I thought that was, it was kind of corny to sit there with his personal problems that whole time. And this is kind of what you mentioned. I don't like that they showed us like there's gonna be a change with AJ. I thought that they were setting us up with a redemption arc for AJ, and not so much a redemption because of the allegation that was made against him. I don't really know how we could redeem that unless he didn't do it. But I thought it would be something along the lines of, in death, he wanted to do something right. Okay. For once. And that's what I was hoping.
I could see that.
But he's just, not only is he unlikable, but he's a coward. And
he was. He pushed her off that water tower. He's like, it's you or me. We're both gonna die, so it's better only one of us survives. Both of us die. So he just pushed her.
And here's the part that really makes it even more awful. Tessa's still alive when he pushes her off the tower. And he immediately tries to justify the wrong, him pushing her off. And then he just started lying. And then he just started lying.
He's like, you fell.
You fell,
And that's probably the moment, right, where it's just like, oh, okay, he did do what they are accusing him of doing.
Right. And then at that point, you hope the monster gets him because what he did was terrible. And so I felt it was a waste. It's good that the monster got him. I'm glad that happened because of what he did. But still, I feel we had a missed opportunity to have a little bit more nuance with the character. And on that note, none of the good. Here's a big problem with the movie. None of the good men survived. No good men who were main characters survived.
Yeah.
Both Andre and Keith, who only wanted to help Tess and get her away out of harm's way, they both ended up dying trying to help Tess. And it would have been nice with a movie. The problem is that when you have a movie and a big topic in the movie is a really bad, nasty, disgusting guy, and it's fine to put that in your movie because there are guys that are like that. There are guys that act exactly like the AJ in this movie in real life. But if you're gonna show that, it would be nice and a little bit more palatable to show a good guy survive in a horror movie. We were just left. The movie ends with Tess in the middle of the street with a dead monster. And she's in the middle of a rundown neighborhood in Detroit without a living soul with her. Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
She's gonna be found surrounded by 3 dead bodies.
Right.
And like that's a terrible ending.
Yeah.
that's a terrible ending, and not one guy that didn't deserve to die survived. So
that sucked.
Yeah, that sucked.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
All right.
So, well, now we come to the part where we're giving our final score, giving our final rating for this. Why don't you go ahead first?
Okay, so I really, really wanted to give this movie a certain rating. And I'm really sad that I can't do it.
Oh, no.
I really... Okay, maybe I don't know. Good. My standards, I know. I feel like my standards are kind of high. So it's hard for me to, bestow the honor of this particular rating on many movies. I kind of reserve it for like my top tier movies, the movies that I think like just really overwhelmingly did an awesome job. And I do think that this movie did a great job. I did, for the most part. I really enjoyed this movie, but because of the social commentary aspect, because of the switch mid-movie with the storylines changing, and probably for those two aspects the most, I'm just gonna have to go with Worth the Money. I really wanted to give it a release day. I thought I was going to give it a release day. But Worth the Money. I still think you should see it. It's a great movie, despite the things that I mentioned. I gotta say it. There's this one scene where it's so disgusting. It's like the issue with the monster is that she wants a baby. Yeah. And so when people happen to end up in her like dwelling, she thinks they're babies and she wants to take care of them. So when we finally see Tess like 2 weeks later, this thing has been coddling her. It's been feeding her. It catches Justin Long's character, AJ. He falls into like a pit down in the basement, and then like a gate is closed over it. And so the monster has like this big like old-fashioned bottle and like a baby bottle, and it's like putting it down there for him to drink, and he's like, what is happening? And Tess is like, drink, and he's like, I'm not drinking that. Let me tell you, this is the grossest thing I have seen in a long time. This nipple has like it's a disgusting thing. It's like a dirty old bottle.
It's got hair all over it.
Hair stuck to it. I'm like, oh my god.
You have to explain. In this bottle, it's her milk.
It's her milk.
It's her milk.
She's still lactating. I don't ask me why or how, but she's still lactating. And he makes the mistake of actually not taking the bottle. He's got to take it from the source.
Yeah.
She makes him take it from the source.
She
and
does.
it is just...
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting and hilarious at the same time. But I had to mention that because, they did do a good job with, like, the gross out factor and some of the creep factor. So it really does pain me to not be able to give them a release day.
we got to do it, right?
What?
What does she say to them when she thinks?
Oh, ba 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 ba. Because it's a baby, right? And you talk like gibberish and baby talk.
That's
to
how
babies.
she talks to the baby. Ba 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 ba.
Dude, it's yeah. It's wild.
Forget everything we said. Forget everything we said about the movie. What we like and don't like. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Just for that.
Just for that.
Just for the milk and the ba ba ba.
Dude, if it wasn't for those things that I meant, I would give it really, you guys, you don't even know how bad I feel not being able to give it a release date, because I really enjoyed it. And but those aspects really just turned it off for me. So worth the money. How about you?
Well, I'm actually shocked at your score.
Really?
I thought, with the way you were talking, I thought you're about to go lower. I thought you were about to go lower than that.
Okay.
Right. I thought you were getting ready to go lower. I also give this movie a worth the money, but I give it a low worth the money. If we can put it into, those of you who have been with us the longest understand that right under our worth the money is Stream It, which would be considered mediocre. So if we had a tier between that one, that's what I would give it. But we don't have that. We have worth the money. I gotta say, when I saw the trailer in the theater, I was thinking about just going ahead and see. I thought it was just going to be in the theater,
right?
But luckily, it was available on HBO Max, so that was cool. But yeah, I gotta go with worth the money. It was just too much other stuff in the movie instead of just focusing on just certain things that made the movie great. I feel like they didn't focus on the things that were really working for this movie. They just went into a lot of commentary and this dude's life who we didn't know yet. He just pops in and you're fired because you did something to this lady on the set, which was horrible, and he got what he got in the end. He deserved it, so
and the other stuff that he ended up doing in the movie,
right.
He definitely deserved it.
So, well, we would love to hang with you all forever, but we can't because we have to make more reviews and other content. But we thank you for hanging out with us.
Right.
And that's all for now.
Now, if you do have any suggestions, if there are any movies that you want us to review, if you want to hear our opinion about it, let us know. Awesome. Let us know in the comments. And we are happy to oblige.
Yes. Well, that's all for now. Yeah. I hope that you've had a great time with us.
Yeah.
You have been watching Never Sleep Again. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Veronica.
Stay awake.
I will never sleep again. I will never sleep again.
Should we do something for a quick clip at the end? A quick clip for... Oh, I wish we had a baby bottle for our thumbnail.
We don't have a bottle.
We could just do a pose.
Yeah.
Look, open your mouth.
Are you gonna put a bottle?
Yeah, like.